telling the time in English is a pain in the arse for Spanish speakers. Maybe quarter past or 10 to. I remember how difficult it was at school to learn it. And when I first traveled to my first English-speaking country, I realized nobody used what I had learned before. So my question is, why are we teaching something so complicated if we don't really use it? That's why I wanted to explain in this video the two ways of telling the time. The easiest and more often used, and the old style for more precise hours. Nowadays, we always focus on the numbers you can see separated by the column, on their position and without prepositions. For instance, the time we can see now on the mobile phone is 9:55, and that's it. Now the time we can see is 9:30, and now it's 9:45. And when you see 9, we don't really follow that by the word o'clock. We just say 9. That's simple. On the other hand, check the time now. This is very curious for Spanish speakers because they don't really read the first zero of the minutes, and instead of saying 9:5, which is not right, we read the zero like O, so we should say 9:05. One more little thing, have you noticed those two letters beside the minutes? Here you can see AM, that means the morning, and we also use PM, which means the afternoon and the evening. Those letters are not even English. They stand for ante-meridian, which mean before midday, and post-meridian, which mean after midday. And we use it because when we speak English, we don't use what we called the military time. For instance, when it's 1 in the afternoon, you see 13, but on an English phone, you will see 1 p.m. Now let's talk about the old version. Why is it so difficult for Spanish speakers? Well, the answer is very easy. Instead of telling the hour, we have to start telling the minutes, the long needle. And right after that, we can check the hour with the short needle. In other words, on the digital clock, it would be like we would see the minutes first, like this. Besides that, everything else is very similar to Spanish. We count up the minutes on the right side of the watch face, and we count our minutes on the left side. For instance, here the needle points at 10, and it also points at 10 on the other half. However, we're supposed to tell 50, but we don't. Right after the minutes, we have to use two different words before the hour. Past, for the right side of the watch face, and to, for the left side. But here, we have to say the next hour, and not the actual hour. I know it sounds difficult, but it isn't, because we actually tell the time in Spanish almost the same way. The only difference is the position of the minutes first and the hours next. But I'm sure you will understand it better with examples. Focus on the minutes first. 2:05. 2:10. And when the needle points at 15, we use quarter, like in Spanish, y cuarto. So, 2:15. On the left side of the watch face, like I told you before, let's focus on the minutes. Now we count down from 30, so we read 25:02. And now we have to tell the next hour, therefore we must tell 25:03. Also, on the left side, we use the word quarter, with the preposition to, and again the next hour, so 2:45. Summing up, as I told you before, there is actually only one difference in the old version of telling the time in English. Minutes go first, and after the preposition past or to, the hour. But don't worry anymore. Just use the digital way because it's very common. And sometimes, if you want, you can use the old way for quarter past, half past, or 1:45. Well, okay, that's it. Leave me a comment if you have any questions about this video or if you want to propose a new video about something different you don't understand. Cheers!